Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United pod. I'm your host, TC. Here's my co-host, Scott. Hello, mate.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, pal. Yourself?
Oh, not bad, thanks.
Good, man. On today's show, we look at the latest updates from UEFA and the Manchester United coaching staff. We dig into the latest transfer rumours surrounding United and assess the first-team chances of one of our shining youth prospects, James Garner. First, though, Scott, some positive signs from Kieran McKenna that we might be getting back to training in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come one day, right? But I still think we're quite a long way away from players playing. And I think, if anything, maybe going back to training is going to make everyone realise that this is maybe something that we're not able to do, especially while the country is under lockdown.
Well, he said that the plan was when the lockdown finishes, 3 weeks' time from when it started, supposedly, which will be sort of the second week of May, that we would then get back to training. They've obviously been conversing, the Premier League and the government. He said we need 3 weeks of full training before we could play matches again, theoretically, which would take us to basically the end of May. But reading into his interview a little bit further, you're right. He was basically saying if the lockdown ends, we'll go back to training.
Yeah, and I think when the lockdown ends, it's going to be business as usual for everything, right? So it's pretty much just obvious news. When you look through the news now, there's so little that's actually new information that I think anyone's just clinging on to an interview that doesn't really hold much water in the course of the rest of the season, you know?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, one thing he did say is the players are keeping a lot fitter than they would be in a normal off-season. So you're not going to need a pre-season effectively to get them back and going. They are still training as if it's going to start again. And of course, over in Germany, the Bundesliga are due to return on the 9th of May. That's penciled in properly. And I know in Germany now the shops are all opening again. People are going to be wearing masks from Monday if you want to go to the supermarket, etc. But they are getting things back to normal again. So, I mean, that's going to be a bit of a leader, isn't it, for the rest of the world? If the Bundesliga starts again and things go well, then the other leagues will surely follow.
Yeah, but I read somewhere that they were saying that they're going to have to play games wearing masks, and they're going to have to stop the game if a mask comes off. I mean, come on.
And pitch side sinks, apparently.
Mad.
It's like an April Fool's joke, isn't it?
It made me laugh at the beginning of this whole thing when they said, okay, we're going to ban handshakes at the beginning. We're just going to walk past each other. But then they were shaking each other's hands at the end.
Exactly.
It seems like they're trying to look as though they're considering all options. But to be honest, it is unprecedented waters we're swimming in, and it's impossible to predict how we're going to get out of it.
You're right, but the one thing is for sure, if the Bundesliga does come back, we're all going to be watching it, aren't we?
That is the only time, yeah.
Yeah, Jadon Sancho mania. They're apparently talking about giving him a new contract now at Borussia Dortmund. I think that's a bit of a tactic, obviously, to keep the price nice and high. But yeah, mask, no mask, pitch side sinks, whatever. We're all going to be watching the Bundesliga all around the world, and they'll never have so many Bundesliga viewers.
It reminded me of when Bruno said he was going to play the last few games at Sporting, and everyone started tuning into Sporting games. I don't think their figures had ever been as high in their life.
Yeah. I mean, the shame is we were 11 unbeaten before the lockdown, weren't we? The one positive thing, of course, McKenna did say as well, is that Rashford and Pogba are right on schedule. So that if we do get back, we're going to have a full squad, which is music to our ears, of course.
Yeah, you're right. It is a bit of a shame. We were hitting full stride, it seemed, without those two players. Last game was a 5-0 win in the Europa League away from home. I think the only fair thing that can be given to us is, the Premier League being cancelled. That'd be fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll get to that in a second. I mean, one thing I do want to add, just touching on Rashford, and obviously Maguire chatted to Gary Neville the other day as well, is that one positive thing is the club and the players have come out of this whole thing so far looking fantastic, haven't they? I mean, the club's reacted superbly. Rashford's been raising millions. I think 20 million he's raised now, isn't he?
£20 million.
Incredible stuff. He just promised 2 tickets to another NHS worker, and they're looking like real nice people, and they're a credit to the club, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like you were saying before, there is they're talking about finishing the season now. UEFA have now clarified things a little bit. They said things should be sorted out on sporting merit from the 2019-20 season, which rules out the coefficient thing, which I thought they'd go for. They love their coefficient, UEFA, don't they? They blooming love it. Which would have put us into the Champions League straight in the top 4. Arsenal would have got in too, which would have been quite funny. But if it's done on Sporting Merit 1920 season, points per game is what everyone's talking about now. We would stay in 5th position, which should put us in the Champions League because City are obviously banned. But people are talking as if they're not going to be banned, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is a little bit worrying.
I read that. And then it was only like 3/4 of the way through the article, which was a long article as well. And it said, oh, and by the way, if City's ban does get upheld, then I guess United will be 5th or will be in the Champions League. And to be honest, I think that maybe UEFA have got a lot on their plate as it is this summer. And an appeal by City might just be discarded straight away.
I hope so.
That'd be nice too. Yeah.
I hope so.
Because they're cheats, let's be honest.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I mean, I know people have been saying that, well, if United got in off the back of that, would they have an asterisk next to their name? Well, no, because the whole reason why we got in is because the team was cheating.
Yeah.
And they got chucked out. So definitely not. The only thing I'll say about this, what do you think about the points per game thing and doing the season like that? What's your opinion on that?
Again, I think it's just they're just trying to evaluate all options, and now they're coming out with different scenarios to see how the public will react to it and see which one to go with.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's we haven't all played the same teams, have we?
No,
So
of course not.
It's not a fair thing. There will have been some teams that have had a horrible schedule and were waiting for these last games to really smash a few points on the table. The whole point of a league season is over the course of a league season, you play everyone home and away, and it's deemed to be the fairest thing. That's why some people say it's a higher achievement than winning even the Champions League or a cup, because it is the fairest way. So to be dishing out things, especially titles, which is now what the headlines are. But again, I think they're jumping on that headline because it's a chance to put something in the papers.
It's not fair because there are certain teams who had crap first half of the summer and then went out and bought players in January to help their season, and to take off the last 12 games, you might as well take off the first 12 games as well to even that out.
100%.
It's bollocks. Sorry to say.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing UEFA are talking about is playoffs. So you play off for the Champions League, but then where do you draw the line? Is everyone who could mathematically possibly get in there, and then if they're doing that, then City and Liverpool have got to have a playoff for the title.
Yeah, but also City have got to be in there as well because they could mathematically not qualify for the Champions League
100%
as well, right? So it's going to be like a 14-team playoff.
So then they could win the title on that playoff and not qualify for the Champions League, and the other way is bonkers, right?
But it's meant this is all living in a world that they think that they can play a game every other day.
Of course. Well, it looks like what UEFA's trying to do is basically draw that line at the end of July and say that's ours. So August is ours. You don't touch August. If you're done by August, fine. If you're not done by August, you hand it over to us, and we get the Europa League and the Champions League done by the end of August. And then
it's like Moyes' attitude with chips.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, those are mine. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they try to clarify things, but I think you're right. I think they're trying to canvass public opinion and then go back to the table. It seems like they're having a meeting every week, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they're going to run out of time. That's the thing. It's already May, coming up soon.
I'm sure that's why UEFA have sort of bracketed August and said, look, because they probably think there's much more chance of football being played there, like we all do. And just said, you guys sort yourselves out. You got time. You got May, June, July. You got 3 months. If you can't get it done in that time, then sort it out. They did say though that it would be the leagues that decide who they put forward, and then as usual, UEFA ratifies that. So they are leaving it up to the individual leagues. But yeah, we're still a way away. The players aren't even training yet. But maybe this Bundesliga experiment will pave the way.
I read somewhere that because of the success of the pre-season tournaments that they've been having in the States and in Asia, that they're going to sort of try and model the same sort of format on those. But they don't realise that those games, they have 12 substitutions in each.
Yeah.
The quality isn't very good. And they're just spectacles, right? You get fine they're being attended. But I've been to those games and they're rubbish. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, it's a kick around.
Yeah, it is. It's an absolute kick around. And I think that because they enjoy the attendances and the money raised by it, that they're thinking that they can maybe throw something like this in. And they're even saying that they could do it in different countries to make it even for everybody. And I think it's, again, just ridiculous, barking up different trees.
Of course. As we said, the whole point is they've arranged it in the first place, so it is the fairest way possible. So any branch you go off is going to be a bit messy. Of course, a big headline in the Premier League. Just quickly, what do you think of the Newcastle takeover Saudi consortium potentially coming in there, loads of people up in arms saying that they've got to stop it and not let it go through. It'd be worrying times to have another major billionaire back club, wouldn't it?
It would. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Mike Ashley is sort of quite a pantomime villain up there, and it's quite entertaining to watch. But I don't know. I think it's the Geordies are never going to be happy, are they?
No.
Not unless they can get Kevin Keegan back, and he ain't coming back.
Yeah, they would love that. And another story that's come out, a bit naughty, I think, at Barcelona, doing the old UNICEF trick that they did with their shirt, right? Doing the naming rights for their stadium, the Nou Camp, and saying they're going to donate the first year to coronavirus charities, and then after that keep naming rights for the stadium.
Yeah. Whereas Daniel Levy's down there, he's trying to ship this naming rights to Tottenham Stadium to anybody. Yeah. He's not saying he's going to give them to charity, and he can't get PC World to sponsor him.
I know. Apparently Amazon and Nike are in for that. Amazon are probably the only company in the world who's making money at the moment. They must be blooming raking it in. Roy Keane obviously had a few things to say about the players being asked to defer wages and take wage cuts. He thought it was a whole load of nonsense for the top teams, which is kind of what we said a few weeks ago. When you've got billionaire owners and they're asking you to cut your wages, it's like, well, where's the cash going?
The players are the faces of those business, but don't forget that there are people signing those checks. The names that are on the checks that they're cashing are the ones that we should be looking at to start raising money for this, you know?
Yeah, it's all a bit naughty, isn't it, using the players as the scapegoats. But we will see with that one.
Especially because they're out of work as well.
Well, of course.
You know, you can't sit here and complain that X amount of people are filed for unemployment and it's the worst time since the Great Depression of unemployment, and then start saying that the people that are actually doing all right, you know, you got to start giving back some of your money because you're doing too well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, won't it? I mean, there was surely some players who really benefit from having this time. Maybe some older players who will extend their careers a bit now from having this extended break.
What, like that guy at Derby? Yeah, that player at Derby who got caught on the piss. At least he'll have a good time to get back to it.
Yeah, but it will be interesting, won't it? It's some players, and then some players will come back in all sorts of shapes, I think, as well. Paul Pogba still making the headlines, of course. We still haven't triggered his 1 year extension. It looks like we're not going to. Manchester Evening News echoed what you said, which is that basically we're not doing it because we don't want to aggravate him, annoy him. Although L'Equipe over in France have said that Zidane is still adamant that he wants Pogba in. It's apparently more of a Zidane thing than a Real Madrid thing. And they said that we would drop the price a little bit if we could get rid of him this year.
Yeah,
it's the same old story, that one, isn't it?
Did you check the date on that story?
No, it's a new one. It's a new one. It said Zidane is upping his chase of Pogba, apparently, from his armchair. A new one with Pogba was from Tuttosport over in Italy, saying that Inter Milan are after Pogba. Oh. And we can chuck that one straight in the bin as well, can't we?
Are we going to be paying his wages as well, are we?
I know, unbelievable, right? Dear me. One new rumour was Diogo Dalot has been linked to PSG. We've smacked a £35 million price fee on him, apparently. He's going to have limited chances, isn't it, with Aaron Wan-Bissaka out there on the right. What do you think? I know you liked him a bit further forward, playing on the right and making it a nice, solid right wing at times. What do you think about Dalot? He's still only 21.
I like him. I think he'd play on either side as well, a bit more of an inverted wing back on the left.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a great squad option, but I'm not sure if he's going to stick around to warm the bench for Williams and Wan-Bissaka for his whole career. But I like him. I really like that he's been taking Bruno to training. I think he's a good fella to have around the club, but if PSG come knocking and they offer... But you know, the problem with PSG is they're going to come and say, oh yeah, we'll come play you right back. And then they'll never, ever play him, and it will just be a complete waste.
Well, like Ander Herrera.
Yeah, exactly.
Hardly blooming played, did he?
What a waste.
Yeah, absolutely. One weird story from The Athletic was they're saying that we want Jack Grealish, we're going to get Jack Grealish and play him on the right wing. Now, I don't quite know how they know that, for starters. Of course, with a player like Grealish, you play him in a variety of positions depending on who you're playing against and who you got injured and who's on form and stuff. It was a bit of a weird story, that one, I thought.
Yeah.
Especially as we're after a right winger in Sancho, and you wouldn't have thought we would get another player who is not a right winger and then play him on the right wing. It seems like what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
No, but I would actually imagine that a player that suits the mould of that Ollie's looking for attacking-wise can play at a number of positions. We're not going to get a player who can just play in one position out of the front four. So to get someone like Grealish, who could probably, out of the left wing, right wing, attacking midfield and centre forward, he could probably not play centre forward, and that's it. And in a pinch, he probably could, but the other three could. So it's kind of stupid. But then we're also looking at Sancho, who can also play on the left and the right. And, you could stick Marcus Rashford on the right wing. You could stick Eric Bailly on the right wing if you wanted. He wouldn't do very good, but it's useless.
Well, Marcus Rashford used to love playing right wing. He that was his favourite position for a little while. But yeah, you're right. I think Grealish would be a player who fits in all kinds of different positions, not necessarily nail a spot down, because we got Bruno, as you say, we got Rashford. Hopefully, we'll have Sancho, but we will see with that one. I just thought it was a weird story. Another one. Mundo Deportivo have been linking us again to Thomas Partey. His dad said that he had talks with Arsenal, and Partey's agents quickly came in and said, "Listen, don't listen to his old man. Listen to us," which I thought was quite funny. He's obviously got that release clause. He's obviously got that release clause, and they said, "Don't listen to his family or friends." That was their official line.
Shipping him off.
We all know about the release clause. Atletico were trying to get him to sign a new contract, but still positive signs, I think, coming from the things around Partey. I think.
Yeah, I think the Atletico probably think they can make more money than selling him to Arsenal.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have thought so. Of course, another midfielder we've been linked with is Jude Bellingham. There hasn't been too many updates. But there's one midfielder we've already got, of course. Fred was asked in Trivela, a Brazilian paper, who's his favourite young player at United. And he obviously said Williams and Greenwood are fantastic. But he said that James Garner was his favourite. He said he's got a huge future at United. His vision of the game is superb. He plays with his head up, impressive shot and an incredible pass. So I know he's one of your particular favourites, although I know you like to slag me off for getting the names wrong sometimes, and I know you like to call him Joel Garner, don't you, for some reason. But I know you're a particular fan, Scott. What do you reckon about his chances? Just turned 19, obviously central midfielder. What do you think of his chance of getting more and more first-team football?
I really hope he does. I love him. Him and Dylan Levitt as well in the academy. He reminds me a little bit of Scholesy in little bits that he has. I think it might just be his size, stature, and his intelligence, I think, with the ball. He reads the game so well for such a young player, and I don't know, he's been tearing up the reserves for years now, it seems. And I would think that in the next year or two, he would start seeing a bit more first-team action, and then probably, like when Matic would leave, he'd probably come in to get a lot more first-team opportunities.
Yeah, I think he's one of those ones that if we had a more settled first team, funnily enough, if we had a better first team, there would be more opportunities. We've just gone through a stage where, as we've mentioned in previous pods, where Ollie's had to play people to really keep his job. So he hasn't been able to take too many risks. Obviously, sort of the defensive side of midfield is a very important position. It's funny you link him to Scholesy, liken him to Scholesy, because he's one of those players that seems to be sort of 5 players moulded into one. When Solskjaer first put him on at Palace away, didn't he? For Fred, funnily enough. Just for a minute, he said he was the next Carrick.
Yeah.
You know what? He does have shades of Carrick in the way he sort of slides passes through. But then he's got the old Scholesy pingers as well, hasn't he? And also that ability to turn into space when he's deep and looking like he's in trouble.
And an eye for goal.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got that instinct and the confidence in himself that he will smash it from 30 yards without even thinking twice about it.
Well, the thing that what I like about his goals is there's all different types of goals. He's got like Scholesy in that aspect. Long rangers, one-on-ones, headers. He takes his penalties a bit like Eden Hazard, I think. 8 in 10 for the under-23s, 3 in 5 for England under-19s. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
No.
And once you get into your second season of Football Manager, he actually starts getting really good as well. So
you've got a lot of time in your hands at the moment, Scott.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah, Darren Fletcher, another one who's sung his praises, actually called him top class and said we'll be seeing a lot more of him. One thing I like about him as well, he seems to rise to the occasion when they're either, the under-23s can sometimes play in sort of smaller grounds or at the training ground, but when they're in the bigger stadiums, he seems to up his game. Or when we're playing City or Liverpool, the level seems to go up, which I really like as well.
Yeah, always a good sign, that, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? He's quite a weird player in terms of, have you watched how many sliding interceptions he does? you talk about computer games. It's a thing that you don't often see, but it's almost like his special power that he just has that ability. He covers angles a bit like Carrick, I think, but those sliding interceptions, I think, are absolutely superb.
Yeah, he reads the game so well, defensively and offensively.
Yeah, and like I say, he seems like almost like 5 players into one. And the other thing I like about him is he's one of those assistive assists. He might not get too many assists. He gets more goals than assists, but he puts people into space to then, like we've mentioned with Scholesy in the past on the Scholesy pod, that he opens up the space for the winger or someone a bit more advanced to create the goal for the striker.
Yeah. And one thing that I used to always love about Scholes, he was sort of the first one to really master the art of switching the play to the other flank effortlessly, right? With just a 40, 50-yard ball on an absolute plate for the other fullback or the other winger. Yeah. And he does that as well. And he benefits a little bit from, I know Scholes coached him for a year or so when he was there. He probably benefited from a bit of time with him then.
Yeah, I would have thought so. And like Scholes, he doesn't need the ball to be in the perfect position to switch the play. The ball can be bouncing a little bit. He can just be in a little bit of an awkward position, and he still finds a way, technique-wise, to sling it wide.
You reckon he plays silly buggers at the back as well?
You know what? He plays less silly buggers, but the problem is that the more confidence he gets, he's definitely got that little bit of swagger about him.
Yeah.
And he does like to turn, and normally he turns right into space. I hope he doesn't play silly buggers too much because... I was a bit younger when Scholesy did that. I don't know if my heart can take it these days.
I'm so glad that we didn't go the duration of the Paul Scholes podcast without mentioning that he did used to give us heart attacks at the back.
Total heart attacks. And then also that he doesn't shut up in interviews. He's been blabbing his mouth off since, hasn't he?
Yeah, hasn't shut up.
You know what? Talking about the youngsters, that's another thing with Diogo Dalot is we've got Ethan Laird coming through there as well, haven't we? Mm-hmm. You're a particular fan of him as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've just got to be all right for me to be a massive fan of an academy player, right? Like they get a huge pass.
They do, and of course, I think although Garner gets a lot of goals at the moment, you would have thought as he moves up he'll get less goals. It's just the fact that he just seems head and shoulders at times. And the bonkers thing is when he's just turned 19, but he's been 18 years old playing the under 23s, and he's looked like he's the first teamer who's dropped down to get fit.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he definitely does.
Yeah, really, really good signs. Thanks for joining us again today. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Keep those positive reviews coming too. And follow our Instagram at United100 Podcast. We'll be back with another flashback pod. Thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, TC.
Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.